Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be about item guides for the carry role. So I'm pretty much actually just going to go through each carry really quickly, briefly, and show you the item guide, show you the item build that you should build pretty much on every carry, because I really think you should, especially new players starting out, lower MMR, like, Legend and below even my level, sometimes Ancient Divine, you should pretty much just follow the guides, and as you get used to playing a hero, then you can start adjusting, you can start making, different builds or doing different things, but usually you should follow the guides that are pretty much determined by the pro players or the meta at the time. So anyway, that's what we're going to do here. Instead of making a small, couple minute video for each hero, I'll just make one video where I go over all of the builds for every carry. So first we'll just jump into it here. We'll do Alchemist. Since he's the first on the list, Alchemist really isn't a big carry hero of the patch. You really shouldn't be playing him. He's not very good right now. It's just not an Alchemist patch, but in general, Alchemist would pretty much either go this like right-click damage build. You start out with your normal starting items with regen. I always suggest buying regen. If you go mid, you will get bottle, obviously. If not, you'll probably get some kind of soul ring just so you can spam your spells. And then you can go Radiance if you want into S and Y. If you don't want to go Radiance, if you feel like you can't get that Radiance, you can go more like Armlet, S and Y, the more right-click kind of build with the BKB and all that kind of stuff if you want to do that. Because if you do get Radiance, sometimes you'll go Manta to push waves. There's just two different builds to go. There's kind of that Radiance Manta push waves with Boots of Travel build, and then there's the right-click build with like S and Y and Assault Cuirass and Abyssal Blade and that kind of stuff and BKB, and you just run in and you do a lot of damage with your right-clicks. That's pretty much how Alch is played, but I don't really think it's a good Alch patch. So the next time Alch becomes popular, he may, have a different build, so we'll see what happens there. Next is Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage actually has been pretty popular this patch and has kind of gotten even better. And his build is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Obviously, you buy regen, you buy your normal starting items, stick if you need to. That's always different for every carry, obviously. But then usually you want to get a Ring of Health as soon as possible so you don't have to buy more regen because you want to be going right into your Battle Fury as quickly as possible. Now, you will probably finish power treads. You almost always want to finish treads. I would say just finish treads on AM. Don't go straight into the Battle Fury because you're not really going to know when to skip treads and all of those kinds of things. And a lot of times it'll actually just make you farm a lot quicker in the jungle and those kinds of things when you get treads first. So you get treads, you get your Battle Fury, you almost always go Manta after, and then from there, then you can kind of deviate. If you feel like you can easily blink in Abyssal people, kill them full to 0, then you might want to go Abyssal Blade. If you feel like Abyssal Blade's not that good, in this game, for whatever reason, people are buying Lycan Spheres, there's no one to no good intelligence here to jump in and blow up, then I would say you can go for Eye of Skadi, you can go for even Moon Shard, Butterfly, all of these different kinds of items. If you need defensive items, you can go Lycan Sphere, you can go BKB, all of that kind of stuff. If you need MKB, you can get that. And it just kind of goes from there. But you pretty much always go Battle Fury, then Manta, then some of these items. So that's Anti-Mage. Next is Clinks. So Clinks is pretty unique in that he was changed recently and then he was overpowered and then nerfed, but I think you pretty much still go the same build as you used to go before that. I think that this is actually a little bit wrong. Let's see if this one's better. Yeah, I would select this one. You go to your normal starting items. You might buy some more Slippers of Agility, some Wraith Bands, whatever, but you basically go into your Maelstrom, you farm a lot, you go treads, then you might get your Dragonlance. You can skip this if you need to, but Dragonlance is usually pretty good, but you want to rush Maelstrom as fast as possible. Then you go into Skadi, BKB, those kinds of things, maybe even a Daedalus eventually. Usually you don't go Desolator, but maybe MKB, then, Ags or whatever if you want to get more of your army out to do more damage than just your right clicks. Maybe Satanic as well. But yeah, it's usually the Maelstrom, Dragonlance, Skadi, probably BKB, Ag Shard somewhere in there, and then, Daedalus or MKB, whatever it is. And that's pretty much the Clinks build. I would say Clinks is still fairly viable, even though he was heavily nerfed. Next is Gyro. Gyro, another one that used to be good, a few patches ago, now kind of has fallen off. Really, this hero, you pretty much just go your normal, treads, all that kind of stuff. Then you'll either go Maelstrom or you skip Maelstrom and go straight for Ags for fighting. You might even go for Mask of Madness. I would say you either go Mask of Madness or you go Maelstrom and then into Ags. But Ags is your first like big item other than these first two, farming items. And then from there, you just kind of scale with your damage. You probably want to get BKB at some point. S and Y, I think you could skip S and Y. You probably want to go BKB, maybe MKB, maybe Daedalus, eventually Satanic, especially if you're building Mask of Madness, which I would suggest, honestly. It's pretty good. But Maelstrom's good as well. But this patch, Gyro's kind of fallen off, so we'll see what happens when Gyro becomes popular, because I think the build will change. Next, Luna. I've played a good amount of Luna. I think Luna is still viable. I think Luna was viable in TI10, and Luna is still viable. You go your normal, maybe finish a Wraith Band, get a wand, get a stick, power treads. You always go Mask of Madness. I almost rush this sometimes before I even get my power treads. I maybe just have boots and I get my Mask of Madness. That way I can transition to the jungle as fast as possible. Then I just straight go Manta style. I do not go Dragon Lance anymore or Hurricane Pike. I just don't think it's good anymore, and I just think that going straight Manta is just way better for being able to push out lanes. Then I go right into BKB. Then I usually either decide, okay, do I need, after my BKB, can I get a Daedalus, or do I need like more tankiness, more survivability, those kinds of things to get the Satanic and the Butterfly? But then I'll go Daedalus with the Shard, and I think Luna's still really, really good with that build. Next, we have Medusa. Medusa, kind of similar. Obviously, you can finish your Wraith Bands if you want. Not a lot of people are doing that, but Medusa is one of those that can. Always buy a wand every single game on this hero. Then you get your treads. You go Manta first. Like I said, same thing. I'm skipping Dragonlance, I think, all the time. I just think it's way better to get Manta. Then you get your Scotty. Once you get your Manta Scotty, honestly, you are really, really powerful. Then you get your Daedalus, maybe Butterfly. You just, scale up your items. From there, you can potentially get a BKB if you really need it. And so don't always, don't just never buy BKB on this hero. You do want to buy BKB on her sometimes. If you need a Linken's for whatever reason, there's a Doom, there's a Duel, or something that you need, you might want to buy that. But really, it's Manta into Scotty, then probably Daedalus, Butterfly, and BKB if you need it. Then maybe even Satanic and those kinds of things as well. So that's pretty much Medusa. Next, we're going to look at Naga Siren. Naga Siren, I think, is pretty similar to how she always has been. She gets some Wraith Bands, power treads. She goes Manta straight up first, obviously, like I said before, on some of these other heroes that are late game heroes. And then you can either go Diffusal if you need to, maybe Diffusal first into Manta, but Diffusal is kind of optional these days. You can then go Heart, you can go Butterfly, you can go other things like that, you can go Basher, all that kind of stuff. You pretty much don't get Radiance on this hero anymore. It's not something you usually get, but it is an option. But Diffusal is the thing that you can get, or maybe not, just depending on what you want to do. But definitely Heart, definitely Butterfly, Scotty as well, and Abyssal Blade and those kinds of things. So all of those items are definitely incorporated as well with Naga. Next is PA. PA is a hero that has been more popular. It's increasingly popular recently. I think it's actually pretty good this patch. One of the top carries now for different reasons. That's been buffed and other things have been nerfed and those kinds of things. But basically, this hero is pretty simple. It's almost like Anti-Mage. You just go your normal build with your treads and everything like that. One thing you do finish, though, on this hero is you do go Orb of Corrosion this patch. You will finish this entire Orb of Corrosion. Yes, it delays your Battle Fury, but it just makes you way better. You can kill people in lane. You farm a lot quicker, all of those things. Orb of Corrosion is almost a must with this hero because it scales really well when you have this in your inventory late. That's why you don't buy Wraith Bands or anything to have your extra damage, and then you do eventually go Desolator. But you pretty much always buy Battle Fury. I know some people have been buying Maelstrom and stuff, but I think that's more experimental. You pretty much get your Orb of Corrosion, go Battle Fury, and then you can either go Deso if you feel like you can get away with it, or you go BKB and then back into Deso. But you always buy BKB and Deso next. It's just which order depends on whether you're losing or winning, or what you need to do. Then usually people go Abyssal Blade, and then you can kind of switch it up from there. Do you need the break of the Agnum's Shard? Do you need Ags? Do you need something else? Do you need a Satanic? Do you need anything else? MK? Do you need MKB? Do you need some other kind of damage item? But from after these items, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And that's PA. PA is very, very good this patch. Can really scale very well. Next is Sven. Sven's kind of fallen off a little bit, but pretty much Sven is played very similarly to how he has always been played. You go Treads, usually go Mask of Madness. I would almost go Mask of Madness every single game. I would consider skipping Sange and Yasha. I don't really love the build that's presented here. I would probably go Echo Saber just because of the nature of what it is. But this is the thing, is Sven was really good, but then has kind of got nerfed, and Echo Saber's been nerfed a lot. So that's why S and Y is kind of up here, because it is good, but I just don't think it's just one of these items that you don't want to get on Sven, I don't think. You probably just want to go Mask of Madness, maybe Echo Saber, Blink, BKB, Then potentially Daedalus, Scotty, maybe Basher, but finishing your Blink. I think that's what you want. And probably eventually, I'm not buying Saint Yasha, eventually getting rid of your Echo Saber and buying something like a AC or probably like a Moon Shard or something like that. But I would say Mask of Madness, Echo Saber, BKB, Blink, and then Daedalus, and then eventually Satanic too. You probably want to disassemble the Mask of Madness for the Satanic, and then probably like Moonshard or something to replace the Echo Saber. So that's pretty much how you play Sven. That's his item build. Terrorblade next. We have Terrorblade, and Terrorblade's one of the heroes that may complete Wraith bans. Just depends on the game whether you think you can get away with it. And this hero, I wouldn't go Ags first. I don't know why this is here. Let's see if this guy says something different. Yeah, this is probably a little bit better. I would say you can go Falcon Blade if you think you need it, but you pretty much want to just rush Manta style. You rush Manta, then you go into Scotty. You can hit a Manta Scotty timing at a really, really good pace and just be unkillable, unstoppable, take buildings so fast. Again, I would skip Dragonlance. I think it's good for higher MMR pubs and things like that, but not at your level. I think it's just better to hit a really good timing with these two powerful items and then go BKB. Once you have these items, you're going to be kind of insane. You're going to dominate. Then you can go Daedalus or MKB if you need it, potentially a Butterfly, Refresher for your abilities, and Satanic. And those are just how you round it out. Even potentially Swift Blink, but I don't think I would get that on this hero necessarily, but you can if you want to. So that's Terrorblade. So those are all of our farming carries, and now we're going to go to the ones that I talked about that are middle of the road carries. Drow Ranger has become a little bit more popular recently, and I think Drow, they just got slight buffs here and there. Similar carry where you can just, you pick up your Treads and Wand, maybe a Wraith Band. I would say you can go Dragonlance. That's definitely one of the heroes that you can still go Dragonlance, because sitting in the back and having a lot of range is something that's very important, and it's a hero that you will potentially build Hurricane Pike on later. So I would definitely go this. Again, I would not go SNY. I would think about going Manta. If I didn't need Manta, I would maybe go BKB, Butterfly, and Daedalus. I would skip SNY on this hero just because that lifesteal amp just doesn't do very much for you, and it's not as good. So I would potentially be going, Dragonlance into Manta, but if I don't need Manta and it doesn't really feel good for the game, I would probably just go BKB instead. I would go Dragonlance, BKB, and then go straight into damage items so that you can output a lot more damage. But Dragonlance, I think, is important, and eventually maybe Hurricane Pike is important. But I do want that Daedalus, that Butterfly, that BKB. So, that's why I don't really love the Yasha items. I think that they're not that good. I don't think you should necessarily build them every single game. It's probably better to just go straight up BKB and then get more damage. So that's pretty much how you play Drow and how you build Drow. Next, we're going to go Faceless Void. Faceless Void, another pretty good hero of the patch. I think Faceless Void you can buy. Now, it says Battle Fury here. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think Tortellini's is a little bit better to follow here. Usually go Mask of Madness and Maelstrom. It seems like those are two farming items, but I think they're really good combined. And then you get BKB, and then you usually finish out your Mjolnir, or you maybe even buy other items, like if you need the Silver Edge, or if you want Scotty, or if you want, MKB, you really need that, or something. Potentially Manta. I think Manta and there's another agility hero that the Yasha items I think you skip mostly, or if you want the Agnum Scepter so that you don't have to rely only on Chrono. But I think this build right here is pretty much the best build, and then you can mix in other things if you really need the Scotty for HP and other things like that, if you really want the Satanic, if you need the MKB, and then potentially if you want the Ag so that you don't always have to rely on Chrono. And I think that's pretty much how you play Faceless Void in this patch. I don't really think you can go Battle Fury. I don't think it's that good on Void, but potentially it could work, but I just don't think it's that great. Next, we have Jug. So although Jug's build is going to be, in a lot of ways, let's see, the Tortellini build is probably going to be Maelstrom and Manta style and Scotty and Ags and all of that kind of stuff. You can potentially do that. You can go into this Maelstrom, into this, Manta, into the Shard, into Scotty, into Ags and Basher. That is a viable option if you feel like that's good. I actually think Jug is one of the heroes where you do want to buy Battle Fury. For whatever reason, I just think that Battle Fury into Manta, into, Abyssal and Ags and all that, it's just really, really good on the hero. And the reason why Battle Fury isn't bought a lot of times on heroes like this now is because Maelstrom and other things are just faster. They're just better. But you don't get punished for the Battle Fury timing in lower MMR pubs. You simply do not, and it allows you to clear waves so much quicker without committing your spin. So I just think that Battle Fury is better. It allows you to get that regen that you need. You really, really desperately need mana regen to have all your abilities up, all of that kind of stuff. I think that Battle Fury is a really, really good item to buy this patch for heroes that potentially could buy it, like Jug. So that's how I would play him. You can go the Maelstrom build, though, if you want to. Next is Morphling. So Morphling, I'm not a huge Morphling player. I would say you can pretty much go the... You always want to get Morbid Mask very, very quickly. That's just something that you want to do so that you can regen up. It's just pretty much guaranteed. You might even finish it before treads like it shows here. Next, you can either decide whether you want to go the magic damage ethereal blade build. So you can go the E-blade build and you can blow people up. That's definitely something you can do if there's very, very squishy heroes. If you think you can blow a lot of people up with magic damage. If there's a more, if there's more tanky strength heroes, like high HP heroes on the enemy team, I would not go the ethereal blade build. I would actually go the Manta Scotty. I would go more of a right-click build, less of a magic damage build, and just skip the ethereal blade altogether. I think that definitely is an option. That is something Morphling players do. It's just a matter of whether or not you think you can blow people up with this. And then you go the simple Manta, Scotty, BKB, Butterfly. You just get right-click items. You just do insane amounts of damage. Potentially Lycans if you need it, and then Satanic, all of those kinds of things. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I just think it's whether or not you want to buy the E-blade and whether or not you think you can blow people up with that E-blade. Next, we're going to go PL. PL, pretty straightforward here. You do all the normal things. You go Power Treads, you go Wand, then you go Diffusal Blade, pretty much first almost all the time, unless you really think you need the Mantis to survive and farm at all. But you usually get these two. Even if you get this one first, you usually go back for the Diffusal Blade. Then you go Heart, Scotty, Basher, all of those kinds of things. You can potentially go the Shard and Octarine Core if you want, if you're good at that, if you've practiced it, if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you can still just go all of these items and then just still get the Shard without the Octarine Core, without spamming that out. So just keep that in mind. But that's pretty much PL. He's pretty straightforward, pretty simple, not very hard to understand or play. He pretty much builds the same things almost every patch. Next, we're going to do Slark. So Slark is one where you go Echo Saber pretty much all the time, even despite all the Echo Saber nerfs. You can go Orb of Corrosion, but actually I would skip this. I think it's just too much money, and you don't really get to get that aggressive in lane and stuff like that. You usually aren't the best laner, but you can get it. You almost always buy Magic Wand. Very good on this hero. But yeah, you can buy Echo Saber. I would say you can potentially buy the Mage Slayer if there's a lot of magic damage on the enemy team. Mage Slayer is technically better, but it just doesn't give you that extra slow that you really want. So you do want something that helps you keep on top of people. And then I personally do not like Diffusal. I think that S&Y is a must. I think you have to go either Echo Saber or Mage Slayer into S&Y, and then from there, you actually either buy BKB, Scotty, or Ags. And I think Ags is extremely, extremely good on this hero. I think that people just don't buy it enough. I think in higher MMRs, it cannot be as good because people are better at chasing you around the map and all of that kind of stuff. And a lot of the Spirit heroes are popular now. But any MMR, my MMR, and anything below that, I think you pretty much go Echo Saber, S&Y, and then you buy Ags if you don't need BKB. Otherwise, you buy BKB, and then you go into your Scotty later. I think that's pretty much the build, and then you finish it off with a Basher, maybe even a Silver Edge if you need it. I would say do not go Shadow Blade. Don't go these like squishy damage builds, because then you're relying on your team. You're going to get called out. You're probably going to feed. I would say you have to buy this S&Y, because also you need to get the Shard, because the Shard is super broken on this hero. And when you have S&Y and you have the Shard, basically you have two ults. You pretty much have like 3 lives, if not like 4 lives. You have your normal life, you ult, that's your next life, you ult again, yeah, 3 lives. You basically have 3 lives because you can regen almost up to full with this HP regen and lifesteal amplification. It's just so good. It's insane on this hero. And that's one of the things that I think makes him overpowered right now in some ways. I think he's a little bit underrated. It's just at higher MMR pubs, he can be not that great because of some of the nerfs and things that have happened, especially to Echo Saber. But I think Echo Saber, S&Y, then Ags or BKB, then back for Ags, then Scotty, then finish your Abyssal Blade, and then you can maybe even do Silver Edge or something like that. So that's Slark. Obviously one of my most played heroes, so I have a lot of opinions about how to build him, especially at lower MMR. So I definitely think Ags is a must. Spectre is going to be a unique one. So Spectre, the normal way to build her is like obviously buying Blade Mail or something like that. Some people even used to go Radiance, but not really anymore. That hasn't been a thing recently. But buying Blade Mail, then Manta, then Scotty, then Basher and Heart and Butterfly and all of that kind of stuff. That's the normal build. You can still do that. But she's just not as good as she used to be with that normal build. So then the other build these days is actually buying Echo Saber. Let's see if someone has it linked here. Now, this is kind of it. You can either go Echo Saber or Falcon Blade, but basically Echo Saber and then disassembling the Echo Saber into your Ags and then potentially using that other portion of the Echo Saber to buy, well, finish Bloodthorn eventually, but basically buy Orchid, and then you use this Ags to just pick people off around the map. Now, although I think that is the best build, and then eventually, obviously, you always get Mantle on this hero, then Scotty, then those kinds of things. Although I think this Ags build is the best build for Spectre currently, I don't like it in lower MMR pubs, even in my pubs, because it requires some kind of coordination from your team. It requires your team to be running around the map, making space, having people alone that you can just pick off, and that doesn't always happen at low MMRs. It doesn't always happen even at my MMR. So that's Spectre. I think you should build her normally. If you want to go the Ags build, or maybe even incorporate Ags later into her normal build, go ahead. But going the full like Ags into Orchid, I just don't love it because of the fact that, you know, like I said, people need to be coordinated. So building her normally, I think, is better. And then eventually incorporating Ags eventually, but just kind of as one of the later items. Next is Troll. Troll seems okay. I would say Troll's in this weird spot. I don't know. It's hard to say exactly what to buy on him, but he pretty much is one of these heroes that can buy Battle Fury, so I would buy Battle Fury. It's one of those things that if you're at low MMRs and you're on a hero that pretty much can buy Battle Fury, except for Faceless Void, I would buy Battle Fury. So I would buy Battle Fury on him. I would potentially, instead of Phase Boots, I would even go Treads potentially, but Phase maybe just because he does have high attack speed. S&Y, I think you could also skip, but then eventually Basher, BKB, Satanic, these kinds of things, just to stick on people. I think Silver Edge is one that you can really buy on this hero, definitely, but I think BKB, probably S&Y, Basher, BKB, all of these kinds of things are really how you want to build this hero. So I think this Immortal Faith guide is pretty accurate, pretty straightforward, pretty good for how to build Troll. I just think he's at a weird spot right now. Next is Wraith King. Wraith King, I think the Radiance build is dead. So although this says Radiance is potential, I just think the Radiance build is dead. I think you pretty much go your phase, you go Armlet immediately, then you go right into Deso, and then you can potentially buy BKB, Blink, or AC. Basically, you want to be this hero that just chunks people down. You hit them with one crit, you hit a support 3 times and they die, 2 times and they die, because you have insane minus armor, you have insane damage, you turn your Armlet on for your crit, you hit them once and they're just absolutely destroyed, that you can kill supports in 1 stun. You also do really a lot of tower damage with your skeletons and everything like that. So I think that's pretty much the build. Obviously, you always buy a wand, Phase Boots, Armlet, Deso, then potentially you can mix it up with BKB, Blink, or AC, but I think you still buy all of these, and then you eventually buy your full Abyssal, and then you buy your Swift Blink later. But I think this is obviously the full build. It's just a matter of, I would include Deso as mandatory, and then you kind of can decide which of these 3 you want first, but then you buy them all at some point, and then you get these 2 later. So that's pretty much Wraith King. I think he's actually kind of strong right now, especially at low Mars, even though he's been nerfed slightly here and there. So that's Wraith King. So those are all of our middle of the road carries. Next, we're going to do aggressive ones. So this is Bloodseeker. He's not really been a carry recently, so I would say just follow the build here. I just don't think he has a great build right now. You see how they say drums and blade mail? I don't think that's great. I think it's probably going to be Power Treads. I think this is the good one. Power Treads, Maelstrom, S&Y, BKB, and just your normal carry things there. Potentially a Scotty, a Basher, a Butterfly. All of these good carry items right now. This is just how to build Bloodseeker, I think. I think you definitely have to get this Maelstrom for farming, and then you just go into these other ones right now, but he's just not the best carry. So I wouldn't suggest picking him, but if you did pick him carry, this is probably what you would go. Next is Chaos Knight, another one that people are just playing more offlane, not as much carry, but either way, you're going to get your Treads, your Wand, you're going to get Armlet. I'm pretty sure that is mandatory on the hero. Then you probably want some kind of BKB, S&Y. I might skip S&Y on this hero. I might just go BKB, Heart, Abyssal, AC, all those kinds of things, potentially Ags, but Ags is more of the offlane build. But if you really wanted to play this guy carry, I think you would do the Armlet, BKB, potentially even Blink, Swift Blink, or Overwhelming Blink. I think that would be really good to, get good positioning, but potentially Armlet, BKB, Heart, Abyssal, AC, all of those kinds of things. I think building for your illusions, making them tanky, and just really killing people full to 0, I would probably skip S&Y on this hero, and this is another one that I would skip that on. But Chaos Knight, not super popular. So for Lifestealer, the build is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You go your Phase Boots, then you go Armlet. I think you want to complete your Orb of Venom into an Orb of Corrosion. Just that extra slow. Everything is really good with that minus armor. Then once you complete the Armlet, I definitely think you go S&Y. It's just a really good item on Lifestealer. It gives him tankiness. It gives him everything he needs. And then you go Scotty. And when you have all these items, when you have the Armlet, the S&Y, the Scotty, you pretty much lose like no health to the Armlet, armlet decay. You do so much damage, and you slow people so much. It's actually crazy. And then from there, you can go your Skull Basher, you can go Satanic, you can potentially get AC, but I would rather almost get something else like a MKB or something like that, even like Bloodthorn potentially, rather than AC. But AC is definitely a possibility if no one else on your team wants to buy it. But I definitely think the armlet into SNY, into Scotty, makes him so tanky, and he can just, you know, people cannot run away from you. Basically, unless they have some kind of mobility spell, you are going to slow them infinitely, especially with that added Orb of Corrosion slow, and you're just going to chunk people down forever. It's going to be a really good counter to a lot of tanky heroes, and you're going to destroy supports as well. And I think that's pretty much how to play Lifestealer. So next is Lycan. Lycan is an offlane hero, so I'm not really going to spend much time. I think you pretty much just go, you know, even if you tried to play him carry, you'd probably just go Helm of the Overlord, to be honest, and then like BKB, Assault Cuirass, potentially Ags if there's somebody to bite and those kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, you would just go Ags, you would just go Helm of the Overlord, AC, BKB, that kind of stuff. But he's pretty much an offlane hero just because of the way it's been changed. Next is Monkey King. So Monkey King is interesting. You can do a lot of different things with this hero, but I think mainly you're going to go Maelstrom. You could potentially, you always need a farming item, so it's going to be Maelstrom pretty much every single game, I would say, because, yeah, maybe at higher MMRs or in TI 10, you know, people are going Deso or Echo Saber or something like that, but I think you need a farming item on this hero rather than just Echo Saber or Desolator. But Maelstrom is the main one, I think. I think you definitely should buy this, but you could potentially go Echo Saber. You could potentially go Desolator. You can even add one of these in after the Maelstrom, and then from there you would want to go BKB, you would want to go Basher, you would want to go Scotty, all of that kind of stuff. I would skip the S and Y on this hero. I don't think it's the best on this hero. I want to go Basher, potentially one of these items if I really think it's good, then BKB, then definitely Basher, then Scotty, all of that kind of stuff to slow everybody in your ult, and that's pretty much how I would play Monkey. But definitely some kind of farming item, probably Maelstrom first. So that's Monkey. Next is Razor. Razor's a very interesting hero. I think, obviously, if you play him mid, you're going to go Yule Scepter, but if you're playing him carry, I think you pretty much almost go BKB first. You kind of just rush BKB because you get your damage and you can farm with your Q, you can get your damage from the Link, and you pretty much go BKB first. Then you can get, like, you know, AC, then you can get even like Refresher or Ags or something like that. You basically get Refresher so you can have a bunch of stuff in one team fight. You can have all of your spells up again. So I would say actually it's kind of an interesting hero. You go like BKB, you go AC, you go potentially Refresher, then potentially Ags, and even like a crit or something like that to do a little bit of extra damage. But I wouldn't go SNY. I'd probably skip Blink. The Yules and Shivas is more of like a mid or offlane build, but I would definitely go like not Swift Blink. I would definitely go AC. I would definitely go BKB, and then Refresher. Honestly, put Refresher in there really soon. I just see a lot of people doing that when they kind of go more of a carry Razor build. So that's how to build Razor. He's kind of a weird one though this patch, so I wouldn't like rely on him to be the best carry, but he can potentially be played carry. I just think Refresher is like honestly like a third item on this hero. So that's Razor. Next, we're going to do Ricky. So Ricky's interesting. I think that Ricky, obviously, you want to get Diffusal to play like an early game timing, but you can still go Battle Fury on this hero. I think it's something that you can potentially do. Like I said, even though Battle Fury kind of fell off for some heroes like him, like a year ago, I think it's still potentially good at lower MMRs. But if you don't want to do that, if you feel like it's too slow, I think Ricky is one of those heroes because Diffusal is just so good. I think that Diffusal can be the main way to build this hero. So you would go Diffusal, then you would probably go Manta, or Diffusal, then BKB, then, you know, Scotty, potentially a Nullifier, Daedalus, those kinds of things. I would suggest possibly skipping Manta on this hero. I don't think it's the best. I think it'd be better almost to go Diffusal into BKB, and then like a Scotty or something like that, potentially a Basher and a Nullifier, and the thing to round out your hero is probably the Daedalus. So I would probably skip the Manta style and just go straight for the BKB just to be safe. And that's pretty much how I would play Ricky. Like I said, you could potentially go Battle Fury if you wanted to skip the Diffusal Blade and you thought you could farm, but I think Diffusal Blade is just so good on this hero that you probably don't want to buy Battle Fury this patch. So that's Ricky. Next is Ursa. So Ursa is a hero, kind of like I said before, that I think there's Jug, I think Ursa, what was the other? There was another one that I think I should say you should buy Battle Fury, because I know PA's buying Battle Fury, but there's other ones that I can't remember. Let me just look back. Oh yeah, Troll I think is another one. There's only a couple heroes where the main build is not Battle Fury, but I think you should still go Battle Fury. Obviously, Ursa is one of my most played heroes. I like him a lot. You can go this Morbid Mask Diffusal build, But the big thing about this build is keep in mind that you want to be taking Roche at like 10 minutes with your team. And so if your team is not coordinating around the fact that you can take Roche with the Morbid Mask at like 10 minutes and they're not going to do anything and you're just going to die or feed because the enemy's just going to scout you, then I don't think this is the best build, actually. I would prefer going Battle Fury, clearing waves, getting just a lot of farm, going Battle Fury, then S&Y, potentially Manta if you really need it, but maybe not. Just going S&Y, then BKB, then Blink, then Basher, all of those really, really hard carry items, and I think you will just blow people up. You'll do so much damage, and like the problem with this is you don't farm very quickly with the Morbid Mask and the Diffusal Blade, and so you will fall off if you're not doing Roche and taking advantage and all of those kinds of things, which I think is hard to do in lower MMRs, even my MMR where your team is not coordinated. So I would suggest going the old Battle Fury, S&Y, Blink, BKB, Abyssal Blade, all of that kind of stuff, Swift Blink, potentially MKB if you needed, Butterfly, whatever, those kinds of things. I would potentially go that. I would say that is the best build right now for Ursa outside of high MMR pubs. So that's Ursa, and then lastly here, we're at the end of the video, we have Weaver. So Weaver, I think, is a decent carry. I just don't think, even to this day, he's as good as maybe he should have been or people thought he was, but he's still pretty good. I think you pretty much always go Maelstrom on this hero. You need some kind of farming item on this hero. You go Maelstrom. I would say you skip S&Y. I don't like S&Y on heroes that don't benefit from that HP regen and lifesteal amp in the beginning. I just don't think it's that great. He also has like the movement speed that he has with the Sakuchi. You don't really need the movement speed part of the S&Y. So I just wouldn't go this. I would go Maelstrom first. Then I would even go straight into BKB potentially. You know, Maelstrom, BKB, then get your Daedalus. Get your big items quick. Don't get these little items because the hero could potentially fall off. So get your Maelstrom, get your BKB, get your Daedalus, get your Ag's Shard if you really need it. If you need Lycans, you can also go that defensive item. If you want Deso because you really think you can blow people up, go ahead and do that. But eventually you'll get BKB, or you'll get MKB, you'll even upgrade your Maelstrom and those kinds of things, and then get even better items later on into the game. So that's pretty much Weaver. That's how I would play Weaver. I would skip the S&Y on this hero. I would even not buy the Falcon Blade. I think that's potentially something you could do, but I just don't love Falcon Blade on a lot of heroes. I just don't think it's great. You could potentially buy it, I think, if you're going to go Falcon Blade, I would definitely skip the S&Y. If you're not going to go Falcon Blade, you could potentially think about getting S&Y if you need that little bit of tankiness, but I would suggest almost getting BKB because BKB is just going to save you way more than S&Y would on this hero. So anyway, that's Weaver. That's pretty much how to play him, and that is my carry video for all of the carry item builds for this patch. I may do, another carry item build later on for all of the carries, once the patch changes, if things become wildly different or new items are introduced or something like that, or anything crazy happens in the next few patches, we get a really big patch. I will also say briefly at the end here, for skill builds, just follow the skill build in the guide every time with the skill build. It's not a big deal. Eventually, as a carry, you'll get to the higher skill levels, and as you get used to playing a hero, that's only then will you really understand when to skill the hero differently. It's going to be kind of obvious and straightforward when to skill the hero differently, but pretty much every time you should follow the guide of how to skill, because it's not that big of a deal on a lot of heroes. Some heroes it can be a big deal, but usually it's only really a big deal in the laning stage, level 1, 2, 3, 4, what you're skilling and when, and that all comes down to matchups, and it's very in-depth and very complicated, and probably really only matters once you get to higher MMR. So don't pay attention to that too much. Just do, what the build in the guide is, and even with item builds, the same thing is said. Just kind of follow the item build guide. Those are usually pretty good, but if you really wanted to know what I prefer, especially for low MMRs and for winning in low MMRs, I would say that usually following all these builds as I described is really good for all of these carry heroes. So thanks everybody for watching. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. Links are below for the Discord to join that, to request replay reviews. The link for Patreon is below if you want to support me or you want coaching. And then my Twitch channel is linked below as well, where I will be doing those replay reviews every Friday. So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.